So good morning. My name is Jamie Roice-Gomes. I'm the manager of the Living with Fire program, and welcome to the second session. I'm going to start my share screen. Okay, so this is the Living with Fire virtual series. This is session 2, Wildfire Evacuation Preparedness. We are co-hosting this event with University of Nevada's Oshire Life Learning Institute. And this series is part of the Nevada Wildfire Awareness Campaign. This is brought to you by Bureau of Land Management, Nevada State Office, the Nevada Division of Forestry, U.S. Forest Service, Humboldt-Tellabee, in cooperation with University of Nevada, Reno Extension. So again, my name is Jamie Roice-Gomes. I'm the manager of the Living with Fire program. Let's get started. So this is the screen that you will see. We are asking that people please mute yourself. As hosts, we have the ability to mute you. So if you were confused as to who muted you, it's probably one of us. This is the video screen. If you click this button, your video turns on. We are actually asking everyone to please turn off your video. It will help us with streaming purposes, so the video isn't so choppy. If you would like to ask questions, you would click this chat button. And after you click it, you are going to look for this questions for speakers portion. And you click on questions for speakers, and then you type in your question. It's going to go to Christina Restano, our director. She's going to accumulate all these questions and then send them to me. And then during the Q&A session, we will answer these questions. I'm going to ask folks to please send your questions to questions for speakers. You know, sometimes as a host, I miss some of these questions. So please don't message me, message questions for speakers. And then to change your view, you would click this gallery view area. And so the gallery view lets you see a thumbnail display of participants in a grid-like pattern, or the speaker view allows you just to see the speaker or the person who's talking. And then to leave the workshop, you would click this leave button. We are asking that folks please stick around. We have some post-workshop polls that really help us out with reporting and grant reporting. We just like to see what you learned, if this workshop was useful, etc. Okay, so if we were in person, I would have this poster up, but we are in a virtual format. So instead, I'm just going to show you this poster. It basically states that extension programs are federally funded. Our programs are open to everyone. And the USDA contact information is available if you would like. If you have any questions, you can always email us at lwf@unr.edu. Okay, now we're going to get into the first poll. Okay, so these polls are anonymous. I will show the percentage of like who voted for what at the end of this, but we just really want to get an idea of who is here. So if you live in Nevada and you aren't part of the Lake Tahoe Basin, if you're a part of California, if you're part of the Lake Tahoe Basin, if you're from Arizona, Idaho, Montana, Oregon, again, this is anonymous, so it just gives us an idea of who we're talking to. There is an affiliation portion too. We just want to know, are you a landowner, are you a homeowner, rancher, academic, agency staff, etc. And then we have some pre-workshop poll questions. We just want to know if what you know about evacuation, what you have experienced, what you've done. And then at the end, again, I'll do the post-workshop poll and we'll measure what you've learned. So I'm going to let this go for a little while. It looks like the poll is still populating.
Sorry, Jamie, didn't mean to mute you there.
Oh, it's okay. I was like, did I mute myself? Okay, I think we're going to end polling now. Oh, wait, it's still, people are still voting. A few more seconds to make sure that everybody's done. Again, these polls are anonymous. Okay, I'm going to end the poll. Okay, it looks like a majority of folks here are from Nevada, which is great. 21% of folks are from the Lake Tahoe Basin, 11% are from Washington, 4% from another state. We've actually had folks from out of the United States attend these, so it's kind of cool to see who's here. 54% of folks are a homeowner. The next highest percentage is other. Okay, then we asked if you were forced to evacuate now, do you think you could leave your home quickly and safely with all your possessions? 46% of you said sort of, which is great because you're going to learn some awesome stuff here at this workshop. Do you have a good understanding of what to do if you had to shelter in place? 46% said yes. That's awesome. Have you packed a go bag? 68% said yes. Have you signed up for an emergency notification system such as Code Red? 54% said yes. Okay. Stop sharing those. Megan, did you end up getting a picture of these?
I'll do that right now.
Okay. So I am just going to introduce you to the next presenter. We have Jason Dannon. He is the Deputy Emergency Manager at the Carson City Fire Department. And I just want to say thank you to Jason for doing this. We're really excited to learn some great information. So I'm going to stop sharing so you can share.
How are we looking?
We're looking great.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. My name is Jason Dannon. Like Jamie said, I'm the Deputy Emergency Manager at Carson City Fire Department. I'm a Battalion Chief rank. Been in the fire business about 28 years. Had every position in Carson City up to this point. Worked seasonally, Forest Service, been on the Sierra Front team, have a big background in this stuff. So with that, let's get going. So again, my focus here is to talk about evacuations in the event of an emergency, not just a wildland fire, but a wildland fire, a flood, an earthquake, or whatever we might see. So there's a lot of different notification systems out there. Code Red is one that Carson City endorses and supports. So it's a way to register and receive evacuation notices and fire information. So we use this to pass information out to different areas. So you would sign up for this and we would determine what area we want to put that information out to, and we get that information out to you. So what is it specifically? So it's a emergency notification system through the telephone. So the telephone can be both your landline, your cell phone, and then texting via cell phones. So there's a variety of different information that we can get, and that is boil water notice, like for water department and so forth, the missing child, again, floods, fires, earthquakes. So it's only going to be used for emergency purposes. It's not another solicitation avenue or something like that. It's just for emergencies and notifications to provide for a life safety. So how do you sign up? Carson.org has a link, and Jamie's, when we get to our resources further on in the presentation, she is going to get a little more specific on that. So besides Code Red, there's several other methods of communication that people can utilize. Douglas County uses reverse 911. Again, you need to sign up for that. and you can do that through the link she's going to provide. Of course, social media is a source of a lot of our information these days. And with that, we obviously have Facebook, we have Twitter, a whole different group of those. Local media, meaning radio, TV. Carson Now is a local website that we utilize in Carson City that has a lot of good information. So these are just there's not an all-inclusive one spot that's going to be your best. Really what I'm saying is there's a whole variety of different information and different things out there. In just a second here, I'm going to stop my sharing and Jamie's going to pull up a video which displays Neighbors by Ring. Ring has become real popular in the last year or two, which is it's that little device that you put on your doorbell out in front of your house. You can see if there's people coming or not coming. And I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing and we'll start that.
We've lived in the neighborhood for 21 years.
This is our first starter family home. We just moved to this area, and of course, less than a year later, fire happened.
There was a lot of devastation. Entire streets in the canyon completely leveled. The Woolsey fire spread very quickly. People had minutes or hours to evacuate.
I just throw all of our valuable belongings, and then we had to go into my daughter's room and wake her up. We just hopped in the car and tried to get out.
Our homes were on fire.
My wife was in a state of panic because she just said, our house is not going to make it.
The idea of losing this home that was just our dream and it could all be taken away from us tonight, it was terrifying.
The unknown was really hard. The news kept replaying the same videos over and over again, and the Neighbors app kept it real for us because a lot of our neighbors were posting, even though they weren't home, they were sharing their videos of what was going on.
We could see in the video the winds were blowing horrifically and there were embers that were flying. It looked like the fire was very close.
If you look on some of the comments, some people were talking about how they know that their family is safe or their communities were safe. I love that people were posting like exactly where it was on their streets.
They would say, a new spot fire just happened at the high school, which is just right down the street from us. That was more informative than the news.
It was up to date, it was current. You could go on every 10 minutes and you could find something new about your community.
It was an incredibly valuable vehicle for communicating and managing our personal emergency from a remote location.
It just brings your community together so much in times of tragedy. It was like a support group.
It was priceless. It was like being home.
Okay, are we back? So I guess I should have said this disclaimer. In no way am I endorsing any of these products. I'm not endorsing any one more than another one. These are just different things that people might not necessarily know about, and seeing the value of a variety of different things and different ways to get information. It was brought to my attention through our fire marshal that they're utilizing this, and Carson City is going to support it from the fire prevention side as well as the law enforcement side, when somebody may be outside doing something they shouldn't be doing, or being able to pull those tapes and see live video what's going on. But as a fireman, it's extremely impressive and neat to see that coverage where they're seeing guys pulling protection lines, and you know, if you felt helpless, and it's a way to get information that's really, really neat. So what we want to say is that we need to sign up now. You don't want to wait till the emergency. You don't want to wait till the middle of summer. You don't want to wait till the middle of a flood. It's like, man, I wish I had that information now. I wish I had that signed up for that code red now. Now is not the time, or during the emergency is not the time to do it. We want you to think about that stuff now. And obviously we got a great audience and a great group of people here that are interested in this information, which is telling us that you know, you guys are going to sign up for this stuff most likely, and let your neighbors and friends know about it. So all these systems are not guaranteed to work, and that's why we think redundancy is so important, and have different methods and different avenues and different ways to get this information, not just relying on one. We're going to talk about being prepared, monitoring a battery-powered AM/FM. There's a little picture here of one of those hand crank weather-type radios that you can utilize to get information, because you might not have power. You might not have all the things that you rely on a day-to-day basis. So we're going to sign up for all these different programs, right? We're going to pay attention to what's going on, but don't neglect your own common sense and your own senses. You need to look, listen, and smell for the signs of fire and changing conditions. So what we're saying is, don't wait for that law enforcement to come up and say you need to leave now. Don't wait for that emergency broadcast system to say you need to leave now. If it doesn't look right, doesn't feel right, then plan on evacuating. Use your common sense. So I don't have a whole lot of information on this aside from NV Energy. NV Energy, in the wake of the Paradise fire a few years back, has started to put in their public service announcements out for public safety outage management. They're calling it a PSOM. What a PSOM is high risk areas with high transmission power lines and high fire prone areas. They're going to be shutting power down in fire season, depending on some criteria. So heavy red flag fire days to prevent issues like the Paradise Fire in Chico, California, a few years back. That's what they're planning on doing. So it's not everyone, it's not everywhere. It certainly is in Northern Nevada, definitely around Lake Tahoe, definitely in those high risk areas. So that's something that you want to look into and pay attention to. They're still developing the maps. They're still developing what areas are going to be affected. But what I want to get out is if they shut power off because of high fire, well, then a lot of these things we're relying on technology wise are not going to work. So that's why you want to have multiple ways to get information. So I want to talk about evacuation terminology. Voluntary and mandatory are always incorrectly, well, not always, but are often incorrectly used to describe evacuations. In Northern Nevada, fire agencies and law enforcement will try to use the following terms. We're going to talk about evacuation order, evacuation warning, and shelter in place. And these are 3 levels to alert you in the significance of the danger and provide basic instructions. All evacuation instructions provided by officials should be followed immediately for your safety. And all this stuff is about your own life safety. So evacuation order, what is that? It's an order. We're telling you, you need to leave. You need to leave now. Evacuate immediately. Do not delay to gather belongings or prepare your home. Follow any directions provided in the evacuation order. Evacuation warning. So that's the next one, warning. So we're asking you to evacuate as soon as possible. A short delay to gather valuables and prepare your home may be okay. Leave if you feel unsafe. I have in here an evacuation checklist. We're going to go into this a little bit further, and I believe there will be a link that Jamie's going to be able to provide for us at the end, and that's something you want to have. So this is just a quick evacuation checklist. You can make your own checklist. You can use one of ours. There's a ton out there, and it's basically being prepared. You know, how many times have I heard, I thought I was prepared until I wasn't. I thought I knew what to do until I was put in that situation. I thought I was ready. So sometimes it's nice to have those mental joggers anymore. I got to write everything down, otherwise I forget. So shelter in place. Shelter in place, we're telling you don't go anywhere. The best place for you to be is right where you are, right there. Stay in your current location or the safest nearby building or unburnable area. This may be required when evacuation isn't necessary or it's too late and you're in the best spot you can be in, right where you are for that situation. So before a fire threatens, again, this is about being prepared and thinking about these things now. We want you to review your checklist. Have that evacuation checklist and family communication plan. It's just like the stuff we learned when we were small in school, having that plan, having that checklist, everybody being on the same page. and everybody knowing what they're going to do in an emergency. We're going to encourage you to assemble a wildfire emergency go kit. Anne from CERT's going to speak after me, and she has a great example of a go kit, very in-depth, very informative of what she personally brings, what she's used over and over on multiple times, and she's going to explain what those are. So when an evacuation is a possibility, things we want you to start doing is to monitor those information sources. You know, if that's your Facebook websites, if that's your AM/FM radios, you know, obviously if you're signed up and you get a text message saying there's a fire in your area, we want you to start paying attention for that. And of course, use your own senses and common sense. We want you to dress for survival. If you've got a fire in your neighborhood and you feel like that's something that's coming, flip-flops and tank tops are not going to be your best attire. You want to be protected. You want to do the best that you can to protect yourself. I can explain that in a little bit further. Start doing those things in your checklist. Get your go kit together. Place it in your vehicle. Have your vehicle parked facing outward. Carry those keys with you so you don't set them down on the counter and forget where you put them. Make sure your pets are in crates and carriers before it's time to go. Prepare those large animals for transport. A lot of horse owners in northern Nevada, rural Nevada, and I happen to be one of them. My wife has a plan. We know where those horses are going. We know where the trailers, you know, they're ready to go. They're ready to go, and we all have plans for those. If you can't get those plans, those animals are a lot better left off on their own to go seek refuge on their own than being kept up in a pen or not being able to get them. A tragic event happened last year in the Colville Walker area with a resident that perished trying to get some horses loaded up into a trailer last year. Patrol your property and monitor the fire situation. Pay attention to what's going on. If you can see what's going on and see something in your area or in your house, you know, a small bush that starts from an ember and you can take care of it, then great. We want you to evacuate immediately if you feel threatened. Don't wait for the order. So dressing for survival, again, this is the non-flip-flop and tank top and shorts. And this is just, it's common sense, but sometimes people don't remember those. So you just want to have something to protect yourself if you did have to get from your house to your car or something that was a little bit more protection for you. You know, heavy duty boots, jeans, long sleeve shirt. So the evacuation process. Fire officials will determine the areas to be evacuated and the routes depending upon the fire's location, behavior, winds, terrain, etc. Law enforcement agencies are responsible in northern Nevada for enforcing an evacuation order. So all this takes time. All this takes time, and I'm going to give a couple examples like the Hunter Lake fires, the Little Valley fires, Collin Ranch. All those are going to happen at times that you're not necessarily in the afternoon, at the end of the day, or in the peak of fire season. They could be in the almost winter, at night, different times. It takes a while to get that evacuation order out sometimes. So you're not always going to have the luxury of having that heads up and that notice. So that's where we're asking you to please be alert and aware and be ready. When time allows, emergency managers will attempt to advise you of potential evacuations early as possible. Again, we just want you to take that initiative to stay informed and aware. There's no guarantee that you receive notification of evacuations. You know, it just might spread too fast, might be a huge power failure, might be multiple incidents going on at one time. A lot of different variables here. You may be directed to a temporary assembly area to await transfer to a safe location. Evacuate to the nearest major community away from the fire. So for some reason, you're not able to get where you're trying to get or where you want to get, you may be taken to a temporary safe refuge till you get told to go somewhere else. So when are we going to evacuate? We're going to leave immediately if you receive notification or alert to avoid being caught in fire, smoke, or road congestion. Don't wait to be ordered. Law enforcement will direct the evacuation. So in Nevada, law enforcement has that role. They're going to take the role of the evacuations. There's other entities that will tag along with them, like search and rescue, our CERT members. It could be some other fire response. It could be a variety of different things, but for the most part, that's going to be handed over to law enforcement to make those evacuations happen. Part of evacuating early, like in the waterfall fire, multiple day fire, multiple days, you can kind of see where the wind's going to push it. You can see it's going, starting the Kings Canyon area, going into Timberline, going into Lakeview, you know, and as the fire marched north, people seem to be caught off guard as far as, well, I'm going to evacuate. Well, yeah, you're going to evacuate, you know, that you can kind of see those things coming. So if you feel like that's coming that direction, think ahead and be prepared. So again, we're going to try and let you know as soon as possible. Just sometimes it's hard to do that. AM 1610, 840, those have information on them. There's so many avenues now for information. You know, I really honestly like the social media stuff that seems to be update. People are really up to date. People are really keeping up on it. So evacuation routes. I want you to take the shortest route as possible. If you have two routes, if you know two routes out, then that's fantastic. Again, this is all about being prepared. You should drive your planned route of escape before an actual emergency. Just like we're saying, being prepared. This is most likely the route you normally take to leave your community on a day-to-day basis, which is usually the shortest and fastest route out. In darkness and flames, that all changes. The Paradise Fire, Chico fires, several instances where it's going noontime, middle of the day, black, can't see, like looks like it's midnight until you get outside of that plume of smoke, and you know, it's broad daylight. Smoky high fire environments, you can't see hardly your hand in front of your face. So what you think is your normal route that you're leaving every day is going to look drastically different when it's impacted by fire and smoke. Law enforcement may direct you to an alternate route. Listen to what they're saying. There's a reason why they're telling you to go that way. I would advise I would take their advice. So kind of tagging on with the NV Energy that I was mentioning, think about installing battery backups for your garage door openers and your communications. If the power goes out before you're impacted, that might disable your garage door. If your car's parked inside your garage and you can't get your garage door open, if you don't know how to get your garage door open, that's something you should know how to do. Every garage door opener should have a red little plastic handle hanging in the middle of the track with a string on it. You can pull that thing, and if you're strong enough, you can push the door open and open that up. So they also have these batteries, nice as Genie batteries, about $100, I believe. You can install that. A homeowner can install that. It's a battery backup, and that would work in a power outage. You can open your door, and most importantly, we want you to shut the door. Shut the door when you leave. Utility rooms in a garage, flammable liquids, all that kind of stuff for Evercast and all that. We'd much rather have those garage doors shut than left wide open when you leave. There's also a UPS, uninterruptible power supply. This is usually specific to a computer to run your Wi-Fi, to run your computer, to run stuff to get your internet connection. And those are things people like to have as well to maintain their computers in a power outage. So what if there is traffic or my road is blocked? Biggest thing is to remain calm. Remain calm, don't panic. Law enforcement's real good at moving a large number of vehicles through intersections. We want you to remember that your car provides a tremendous amount of protection from heat, smoke, and embers. So again, stay calm. Don't abandon your car. Don't abandon your car on the roadway where it can impede the evacuation of others. Waterfall fire, we had several guys stuck, trapped on the very first day when a local news guy took his car keys out, locked his car, and fire activity picked up, and they were unable to retreat. So don't leave your car parked in the middle of the road, where it's going to hamper access and egress. Being stuck in traffic in your car on unburnable pavement is almost always better than being exposed on foot. You can only imagine, but I'd much rather be in a car on blacktop than outside running for the hills. Drive calmly and safely. Again, visibility is going to be low. Turn your headlights on so others can see you. The presence of fire or flames on the roadside does not necessarily mean your road is blocked. You can usually safely drive through when there's fire burning on the roadside. And I'm not saying drive through a wall of flames. I'm just saying if you have to go and there's fire burning uphill from you, then that's much better than stopping or turning around sometimes. And all these, you got to use your common sense. Use common sense and follow your gut feeling. If your road is blocked, try to clear the obstruction. If it's a tree and you can push the tree or push it out of the way, or with your car, drive over it, go for it. If an alternate route is available and your main route is blocked, of course, use that. Try to drive away from the fire and take the shortest route to the valley floor if you're on a hillside. You know, fire activity is going to be much greater on a hillside. If you're able to get to flat land, you're going to be better off most of the time. Do not leave your vehicle unless there's no other option or your car is on fire. Leaving your car is going to be a last resort and may prove deadly. You're almost always safer in your car than in a building. Take refuge in an open area like a ball field, a large parking lot, or shelter inside a building if no quick escape route is available. If you must shelter indoors, close your doors, close your windows. Lay on the floor, call to move if there's smoke or heat in the building, stay near a door, stay inside until the fire passes. So when you're preparing your home, if you want to shut the doors, like I said, the garage doors, the front door, sliding glass door, you want to make sure your windows are shut. No area for embers to get inside and start some lightweight drapes on fire or a couch on fire. So my neighborhood is one way in, one way out. If you live in a one way in, one way out neighborhood, which is common in the mountains, your escape route is predetermined. There's one way in, there's only one way out. So those folks know who you are when you live in those areas. Those are ones that want to think extra early about getting out of there ahead of time. You know, during an emergency, there's going to be a ton of fire equipment getting up there. You want to get out ahead of time before that happens. You want to follow those instructions on your alert messages. If they provide evacuation shelter or escape route information, follow them, use them. Don't attempt to evacuate by fire roads or open spaces where you might be exposed to burning vegetation. Fire roads are almost always more dangerous than being in your car on pavement. And Tahoe folks, you know what I'm talking about. Fire roads are not meant for escape routes. They can be if that was the only route, but for the most part, those fire roads are for getting equipment in, equipment out. With the heavy vegetation, mid-slope roads, everything else where those fire roads are constructed are not the best for the average homeowner trying to get away from their house. Fire engines will block my escape. When the evacuation has been ordered, we all know that the people are coming out, or we know that area has not been evacuated yet. Evacuation is the #1 priority to us as firefighters, as falling under life safety. Life safety is always our #1. So with that, we are not going to block your access. We want you to get out. So if you're unable to evacuate on your own, ask a neighbor. Ask a neighbor to ask for some help, to give you a ride. Pre-plan a list of neighbors who might be able to assist you. If you may have some difficulty, your neighbors already know that you're going to have some difficulty getting out. You probably already talked about that stuff. If you're disabled and you can't get out and you've tried everything else, call 911. Tell them you're incapacitated, that you need help, and that's what they're there for. That's what we're there for. If you have a fireman, police officer, correction officer who lives next door in your neighborhood and you know them, tell them, hey, come check on me. Come help me out if I need help. And they will. They'll gladly help you. Again, on those fire roads, not the best option. We want you to stay on pavement. We want you to stay on blacktop if possible. Always evacuate towards those major roads, major thoroughfares. I just want to mention the downhill. If you can evacuate, if you had a choice to go up a hill or down a hill, most of the time it's much better off to go downhill to get away from the fire. Fire generally travels faster uphill, with the exception of the eastern slope of the Sierras, where we get those winds that push downhill real hard in the afternoons. But if you can go downhill away from the fire, that's always your better option. So, of course, wildfires are very unpredictable and spread fast. Every year, they're getting more unpredictable and faster spreading. Even if you've been prepared in advance, you may be required to shelter in place. If you've been ordered to, or if you find yourself trapped by a wildfire, to survive this frightening scenario, it's important to remain calm. You need to prepare yourself mentally for the darkness, like I mentioned, in the middle of the day, pitch black, the noise that comes along with it, the chaos, the feeling, the natural urge to flee to the safety that you're in. If you're unable to evacuate, it's probably safer inside a car or building where your airway, eyes, and skin are protected. I want you to take shelter in the nearby place that is best able to withstand that fire. This may be your home. This may be another building made more of resistant materials or less exposed to burning vegetation. Maybe in a car, it may be in an open outdoor area like a ball field or a grassy field or an ag lot or something. So if a safe evacuation is not an option, these are some steps to follow. With sheltering in a house or building, a building should be your first choice for shelter if evacuation is not possible. Again, we want you to close all doors, windows, and leave them unlocked. That way we can get in and help and get you out if need so. Keep those keys, cell phone, ID, flashlight with you. Keep your family together. Keep everybody together in one spot if you can. Have those pets together in pet carriers, dogs and cats. Lay down near the front door. Monitor the fire. Be observant. Pay attention to what's going on. Watch for those small spot fires. And what we're trying to do here is wait for that major fire front to pass. Call 911. Let them know your location. Leave the house only if it becomes too hot or smoky inside, when it's obviously safer outside. We want you to shut all the air vents off and air conditioners. So at this point, you probably will have a power shut off, may or may not. Air conditioners are just another avenue to get embers and smoke inside the building. You have that thing on, you're sucking in all the outside air. And there's not much of a filter on those, so that's going to bring all that outside air and embers into it. Swamp cooler, I've seen swamp coolers catch on fire, the mesh stuff when they're off use from embers. So we want to turn all that stuff off and shut the windows, shut all our air vents. So we want to keep our family unit together. We want to stay inside the house until that front passes. Although it might be very hot and unpleasant, it may be completely unsurvivable outside. Stay near an exit door, lay low to the floor. We want you to plan for that power loss and have water stored by filling water in your bathtubs, your sinks, possibly a bucket. Have a fire extinguisher ready and know where they are. Shelter in a room that's on the opposite side of your home from where the fire is. So opposite side. So it hits the other side first. Make sure you have 2 possible exit routes. Again, think about that garage door opener. Be prepared for how you're going to get it open if you need to. If you have the metal Venetian type blinds, those things are real good with reflecting radiant heat. So if you have lightweight blinds, we want to get rid of those, take those down during a fire. If you have the I think mini blinds they were called, those Venetian blinds, you want to close those and put them in a closed position. I mentioned the lightweight drapes, blinds, get rid of those because they could light on fire. Move the furniture away from windows or a sliding glass door. Again, that's for radiant heat. Want you to shut off the attic fans, whole house fans, swamp coolers, interior fans. This again keeps smoke and ash from getting sucked into the house. Bring those pets inside. Put your livestock, horses in an area where the fuels have been removed or out in their pasture. Leave the exterior, interior lights on as long as you have power. That helps us see where that front of the house is. Sometimes that's real hard to do, but if you see that light on, it's real easy to see where the front door is for us. Move your vehicles away from structure. I've seen several cars that have caught on fires during wildland fires. That's what actually catches on fire and kind of stokes the structure itself from lighting off. Shut off your natural gas and propane tanks unless it's specifically for your battery backup generator. Connect your water hose and lay them out for the best use where they will not get burned from the fire front passing. And again, that's having something like a green line, we call it, to have something easy accessible for a real small spot fire that could be taken care of, or something else to utilize water. If you have a wooden fence that connects to the exterior of your home, prevent flames from spreading from the fence by propping open a gate or removing that piece of wood or taking that fence slat off. Move anything that can easily ignite at least 30 feet away from the exterior of your home. And the big things we see are patio furniture, firewood, trash cans. If you happen to find yourself outside the home or on foot, you're going to want to find an area clear of vegetation. It's going to be far from dry grass, brush, trees, ball fields, playgrounds, a creek, a swimming pool. Look for a ditch, a depression, a body of water, like I said, a pool or lake, if there's no other open areas. Lay face down, cover up your body, protect your airway. We want you to have your face down in the dirt, breathing close to the ground through a dry towel or cloth. Protect your eyes. Use that cell phone, call 911, advise officials that you're trapped and where you are. The top picture in this slide here, those are fire shelters, and that's during a testing, but that's fire shelters. That's what firefighters are provided as a last ditch resort, last case scenario in the event of a burnover. These reflective safety blankets that I have down on the bottom, you can buy large quantities of those, packs of those, or you can buy them at Walmart. They're basically made for winter survival, keeping your body heat back in. But if you're in a car and you stuck that up in your windshield, that heat would reflect off, and that would probably buy you a little bit. That might be something to put in your go kit. Sheltering in your car. If your escape route is blocked and there's no safe building, take refuge in that car. Stay in your car. It's much safer than being outside. Never attempt to evacuate on those unpaved fire roads. We keep hitting that, but that's important. Find a place to park on pavement that has little or no vegetation. If it's on a windy hillside, park on the outside turn. Find that upslope piece of dirt uphill from you that doesn't have a bunch of vegetation that's going to catch on fire. Turn the headlights on and your emergency flashers. If fires going over the top of you, get down low, below the windows, recline your chair, put a heavy blanket, or maybe that aluminum emergency blanket over you. Call 911, stay in the vehicle as long as possible. Wait until that fire front passes and temperatures drop, then you can get out and move to a safer area. Again, these are all last case resorts. This is never our plan. In your vehicle, the structure offers more protection than a car, so if there is a building nearby, get in it. If you find one with a brick building with a metal roof, or a brick building with cement shingles, that's the one you want. If there's no building, park and stay in your car where it is safer than being out in the open. Okay, so fire fronts pass by and it's time to return home, or officials clear the area and it's okay for you to go home. Fire officials are going to determine when it's safe for you to return to your home. This will be done as soon as possible, considering safety and accessibility. When you return home, be prepared. Be prepared that it's not going to look the same as when you left. Be prepared for down power lines and other hazards. They're going to be out there working before they let you in, before it's safe, but you still need to pay attention. Still keep your head on a swivel. Some of our rural folks may have never left, may have still be in there. Be heads up to what's going on out there with those power lines. Check the propane tanks. Don't just turn them on before you see it. If you see a melted supply line, you may have an issue. And we want you to check your residence carefully for hidden embers or smoldering fires. So with that, that's the end of my conclusion. Thank you, or my presentation. Thank you very much for listening. And we have a lot of exciting stuff to hear from the next presenters.
Thanks, Jason. Okay, so if you could stop sharing your screen. We are going to introduce Ann Grant. So Ann is the team leader for the Douglas County CERT up at the Lake Tahoe Basin, and she's also the Skyland Fire Adapted Communities leader. Please join me in welcoming Ann.
Well, thank you very much. Yeah, I've been a CERT member. I started the first Douglas County CERT team in 2010. And the Community Emergency Response Team, part of our charge is to prepare ourselves for emergencies and to prepare our neighbors and our community for emergencies. So I've been teaching classes on preparedness now for quite some time. And so our CERT team, we are trained in CPR, first aid, triage. We have learned a lot about bandaging. We do light search and rescue and whatever. So our members are well prepared, and then we try to teach our neighbors and our community. So Jason just talked about, leaving if you have to evacuate. And you can see that if you had to evacuate, if they came and said you have to evacuate in 5 minutes, you wouldn't be able to get much of anything. So this is a to-go box, and I have it in this box, but you need to have a box that has everything you would need to have for 72 hours. If you had no other help. When emergencies happen, it's very chaotic. It takes a while to get resources to the area. And so you need to be able to survive on your own. Even if you couldn't stay in your house, you could put this in your car and you could be ready to go in like 5 minutes. I also volunteer for the Red Cross. And I've heard stories of people coming to the shelter in the middle of the night with an overcoat on and nothing under it, and having nothing else with them. And also, I was on the board of the Nevada Fire Safe Council for a number of years, and we had a project coordinator that moved to Ventura. He was a carpenter by trade, And he was living with a disabled woman, helping her when that Ventura fire happened. I think it was about four or 5 years ago. And he had been teaching preparedness and to-go boxes and whatever for many years. But when that fire happened and they got notification that they had to evacuate, all he grabbed was his bicycle. And he had all the carpentry tools and everything. Well, the house burned down, so he had absolutely nothing left after the fire. And he said he just couldn't think. So you need to have things prepared where you can just pick them up and go. And several years ago, Channel 4, when I lived up at Lake Tahoe, Channel 4 came to my house and we were doing an evacuation drill. We knew they were coming. We had lists made for ourselves. We had things containerized and whatever. And so they started filming us with 15 minutes and filmed us picking up all of our things and getting it in the car and whatever. And in 15 minutes, even though we were prepared and we had lists of what we would take and what I would take and what my husband would take, we couldn't do it. We could not begin to get all the things in our car. So it just shows you that you really need to be prepared. So, have a to-go box. There's a number of ways you can do it. You can put it in some backpacks. You can, one of the best ways is to have a suitcase, a rolling suitcase, and just make sure that you can pick it up and put it in your car. Don't get it so heavy. This is fairly heavy, but I keep it that way because I do a lot of presentations and it's easy for me to show when I have it in this container. For Wildfire Awareness Month, a couple of years, we gave away to-go bags. We gave away some bigger, like the grocery style to-go bags. We gave away a bag that had the evacuation checklist on it. So those small bags would be good for a children's bag or for a pet bag or that sort of thing. So whatever makes it easiest for you to pick up and put it in your car, you may have to do it in 2 or 3 bags or whatever, but whatever you can put it in to just pick it up, have it somewhere near your car so you can just put it in your car and you can go. The one thing that we can't live without is water. So the whole bottom of this box is filled with water bottles. And we go in every 6 months, change them out because they do get old. And the most forgotten thing that people forget when they go to a shelter is their medications. Let me see, make sure you can see that. My husband has a heart condition, so he has to have his medications. I don't take much that I couldn't do without. So in your medications, have your prescription numbers, the pharmacy you go to, the physician, and the name of the drug, the dosage, all that is in here. Because it's very possible that you won't remember when you evacuate. So that's one of the things that when people go to shelters, that's the most forgotten thing are medications. And maybe if you go to a Red Cross shelter, they'll be asking you, to replace your prescriptions or to get your prescriptions. Well, you've got to know what you take. I had one lady in a class I did who was from Paradise. And she had an elderly mother in Paradise, and they had separate homes, and they did not get out as soon as the evacuation order happened. And so she said she was driving out, she was driving over in ditches, over down power lines, all kinds of things. She said it was the scariest thing that she ever had happened to her. But when she got to the shelter, her mother took a number of medications. She was elderly. And they started asking her what prescriptions her mother took. And she said, I didn't know. She said, I knew it was a pink pill, but I didn't know what the dosage was. I didn't know what the drug was. So that's why it's really important that you keep all that information in your to-go box. And another really important thing is keeping cash. We have $500 in small bills, a lot of 1s, 5s, 10s, a few 20s, nothing bigger than 20s. Because if everything is down, say, you know, there's a lot of things that might have happened. It might be an earthquake, it could be a flood, it could be a wildfire, it could be a hazardous spill, it could be terrorism. There's any number of things where they would ask you to evacuate. If everything is down, we're all used to using credit cards, but you may not be able to use a credit card. It could be when you go to pay for something, you can't get change. So you don't want to have a bunch of big bills where you don't want to pay $100 for a bottle of water if you need it. So it's really important to just have cash and small bills. We also keep our passports in our to-go box because we don't use them very often. And if we got out without the identification, your passports are really good identification. And we keep a few checks in. Yeah, I mean, it's possible you couldn't even use a check, but in the event you can, we keep a couple of checks in our to-go box. So those are really some important things. Food is one of the other really important things. One thing that works really well are these small packages of backpack food, because you just need water for them. So that works really well. On the internet, you can buy cans of dehydrated food. That would be something you could put in your to-go box, although they're pretty big. So I did just go to Costco and they had a red bucket of 124 servings of dehydrated emergency food with a 25-year shelf life, and it was $60. So that's something that you can pick up, and you could at least keep that at home for your home preparedness. I have a food saver that vacuum packs. And so I have, like granola bars and nut bars and that sort of thing, because that's really good food. I've opened these up after several years and they're still just fine. So if you have a vacuum packer, that's really a good thing to use. I vacuum pack some Cheerios because they're good food and you don't need any water or anything for those. I have instant oatmeal packaged in my box, vacuum packed. That's really good food. So you just want to make sure that you have something. If you put any canned food in your to-go box, make sure you have a can opener, because people have brought canned food and they can't open it. So that's a really good thing to have. Another thing is a cell phone charger. I have both an Android and an iPhone. I have an iPhone now, but I used to have an Android. So I have an Android charger in here because maybe somebody, if I went to a shelter or whatever, maybe somebody would not have a charger and I might be able to charge their phone. I also have 2 backup batteries for my cell phone, and each backup battery will charge my phone once. So that's a good thing to have. Another thing is a radio. And this is a little transistor radio. I guess you can still buy them. I don't know. This has been around for a number of years. If you have anything that's battery operated, make sure you keep the batteries separate. You'll see that I have everything contained into plastic bags because I don't want to be reaching around my to-go box trying to search for things. Everything that belongs together stays together. So you can also buy radios on the internet, which are wind up, and they're emergency radio where you can, you can get the AM stations that are broadcasting and you can get emergency messages. So you can get one of those and then you don't have to have batteries. The other thing is make sure you have a flashlight. We all have flashlights on our cell phone, but what if your cell phone wasn't charged? So you wouldn't have a flashlight, and you can see that the batteries are separate in here. I have them in a separate plastic bag inside the plastic bag. So we have that. My husband and I are older, so we cannot see without glasses. So in case we get out without glasses, we have glasses in here. Just in case we get some bumps and scrapes or whatever as we evacuate, we have a small or a little first aid kit in here. We have our personal effects, toothbrush, deodorant, toothpaste. There's wipes in here, hand cream, I guess, soap, whatever, because that will make you feel a lot better if you are someplace where you can at least wash up. And we are in, a lot of times our climates in the wintertime are very cold. And so they have hand warmers, body warmers, foot warmers. We have these in our to-go box, just in case it's a really cold time of the year. And you have to remember, I just took some of these out of my car. I was working at a COVID vaccine clinic and it was really cold. And I took some out of my car and they had been in there for probably about a year and they didn't work very well. So you have to replace them, I guess, yearly. They just don't seem to work. The other thing is to have trash bags, Ziploc bags. You know, you just never know how those are going to come in handy. We have 2 books for each one of us in there. If you go to a shelter, it's very possible there's nothing to do there. So you might really love having a book with you. We keep jackets in our to-go box in case it's cold and we get out without a jacket. And you can see, I mean, the people that I lived right there by the Woolsey fire for 30 years. And my daughter still lives there and the fire was right behind her during that Woolsey fire. And you can see, I mean, you just have to get out and quickly and you wouldn't have time to think. So if it is cold, you have a jacket in the box. And another really nice thing, or not nice, kind of important thing, if you ever have to have an air ambulance, it's extremely important if you have an accident or an illness where they have to transport you in an emergency by helicopter. Well, I live in Minden, so if they had to transport me to Renowned or something like that, which is the trauma center, if you have to be air ambulanced, it's about $30,000. If you join the 2 in our area are Care Flight and Air Med Care or REACH. Both of them, if you live at Lake Tahoe, you have to belong to both because you don't know which one is coming for you because they both service the area. Down here, it's mostly Care Flight. But if you belong to one of those, it's really inexpensive. It's like $55, $65 a year to belong for a family. And it will cover most of the cost of a flight. And most insurances do not cover the full cost. So that's one really important thing to consider when you're talking about emergencies. And we have underwear for 3 days for each of us in here. We also, if you're going to evacuate, say in a fire or something like that, or a hazardous spill or something like that, these are masks. And probably the best option for you at this point is a N95 because they're available again and probably would be the best for filtering out anything like, that's in the air, or at least it would help in a wildfire. We do have a evacuation checklist in here also. So it's just really important that you put all of these things together. And if you or someone in your family is diabetic, it is critical that you have a to-go box because there are things that you have to have that are life-sustaining. And Living with Fire will have this information for you. It's a list of what diabetics should collect for a to-go box. There are some extra things in there. And one thing that is really helpful, because a lot of diabetics have refrigerated medication. This is a Frio bag, and it's a bag that all you do is, and it comes in different sizes. All you do is you dip it in water and it becomes cold. So if you have refrigerated medications, you can put them in it and it'll keep them refrigerated. And if it warms up, then all you do is just dip it in water again and it becomes cold. So, and that's available on the internet. I have not seen one in the store, but there may be one in a pharmacy somewhere. I'm not sure. So for diabetics, it's really important that you keep your some of your medications, whatever doesn't have to be refrigerated, keep it in your to-go box. And we go in every 6 months and replace our medications and take the prior ones. But you want to have your medications, you want your prescription numbers, the pharmacy, the dose, the name of the drug, and your physician. And then have a Frio bag in your box. Comfortable clothing and shoes. For diabetics, it's really important that you have the right shoes and comfortable clothing. Need a first aid box, a phone charger, and the type of food that you require for your condition. If there's certain things that you need to eat, they may not have it at the shelter. And that's another thing. If here in Douglas County, our CERT team mans the shelters. Other places, the Red Cross does. If you're going to evacuate and you're not going to stay in a shelter, you're going to stay in a hotel, or you're going to stay with a friend or something like that, we ask you to go by the shelter, let them know who you are, where you're staying, and how they might be able to get a hold of you, because maybe your cell phone won't be working. Maybe the cells are down and your relatives and whatever can't get a hold of you. Well, the first place they might call is a shelter to see if you're okay. So we just ask you to stop by and register at the shelter. And then if you have children, you need to prepare just a special backpack for them. And children love to have their own things. So, you know, have them help you make do it in a backpack, one that's special to them. They need water, food, flashlight. They need toys, whatever toys that are special to them, books, markers, small games, especially ones that don't require electricity or don't require batteries, that sort of thing. They're a comfort toy or a comfort blanket. And I know sometimes it's really hard to replace that special one that they have. But my grandson, he had an exact replica. They bought 2 of them at the time he was born, so he had one extra. And then in their clothing for your children. So that's really important, because if you get to a shelter, there's not a whole lot for kids to do, so they need something to entertain them. And if you have animals, pets, FEMA requires that there be an animal shelter somewhere near the shelter. After some of the hurricanes, people's animals were loose, or they didn't want to leave their house because they couldn't take their animals. And so FEMA now requires that there is some kind of a shelter for the animals. The animals cannot stay in the shelter, but there will be a facility near where you can go visit your animals. So in Douglas County, we have an animal control trailer that comes. It does have crates and whatever in it, but it's best that you bring your animal in a crate. Animals, a lot of times with an emergency, they become very scared and they'll hide. So make sure you keep track of your animals and practice putting them in the crate, and practice an evacuation with your animals so that you know exactly what you're going to do when the time comes, because like I said, you may not be able to think what to do. They need water in a to-go bag, and one of these little bags like I showed you would be just perfect for a pet. And putting their things in there. They do have prepackaged water, which is in kind of a soft pack. The Humane Society has given it out at some of the events I've been to. Or bottled water in there, and their food, whatever food they eat, because there will be food in the shelter, but it won't be the food necessarily that your pet eats. And a lot of animals have digestive problems if they don't eat their normal food. So, and if they have any treats that they like, it's always good to put their treats in. And then include contact information for your local vet with his name or his or her name and phone number. And then any medications for your animal, name, dose, pharmacy, and prescription number. And then put copies of your pet's vaccination records in. And make sure when you have your to-go bag, you go in there every 6 months and make sure you update things. We also have flash drives that back up our computers. So, we go back in and revise those like at least every 6 months, every few months, so that we don't have to recreate the entire wheel if something happens and we have to leave and I can't take our computers with us, because you might have to leave without going home too. So that's, it's just good to, those are good to even have in your car or for women in your purse. And then put a pet rescue alert sign on your front door. And I've seen these given away at events I've been to by the Humane Society. So and pet stores may have them, PetSmart or whatever may have them also. And then auto preparedness. You need to have just a small go bag in your car, because it's very possible that you're out somewhere when the evacuation notice comes. If there is an evacuation notice, they will not let you back into your home. So you need to have enough that you could survive for a short period of time at least. So you need water, food, medications, some sort of clothing, a first aid kit, a cell phone charger. They have little portable battery chargers now. I got one at Costco, and you charge it up in your USB port. And I can't tell you how many people I have jumped their car with my little tiny battery charger. So if that would come in, really has come in handy for, I think I charged my car once with it when my battery went out, but I've charged many other people's car, where I've been parked and they couldn't start their car. Keeping your automobile in good running condition and keep good tires on it. And just make sure that it's mechanically in good running condition, because like Jason was saying, during the Paradise fire, people either ran out of gas or they abandoned their cars, and then it clogs up the highway and then people can't get through. So make sure you have your car in good running condition, and then keep your gas tank at least half full at all times. In that Paradise fire, people did run out of gas and abandon their cars. So you want to be able to keep moving in your car. And a lot of times evacuating, it will take time to get out. So you need to have enough gas in your car. Keep your window washer fluid rated for -30 degrees and keep it full. If you're getting a shower of ash and whatever, you may need to be washing off your windshield or whatever it is, snow, freezing rain in the winter, or whatever. So either I keep glow sticks in my car, because if my car was disabled or parked along the highway or something, I can put those glow sticks out in the highway to show people that my car is parked over at the side. You can keep flares in your car, but you got to be very careful with flares that you don't light them near any vegetation or anything, or you could be the cause of the fire. So just be real careful with those. Keep jackets in the car And like Jason was saying, keep the emergency blankets, or I think it was Costco one time had some throws that were, they were filled with some sort of polyfill or something, and it was rolled up and in kind of a roll. And so I keep that in my car. You know, if you even ran across somebody who was injured or something, you could put a blanket over somebody and help them with their, you know, just help them with their panic and you know, not, you know, they're being cold. And home preparedness. One thing is have a home inventory. Go around your house with your cell phone and just open the cabinets, take a picture of everything in your house, because if something happens to your house, you will never be able to remember what's in your house. And for insurance purposes, that will serve you really well. And you can take that and put it onto a flash drive or something like that that you can carry with you. And you want to have at least 2 gallons of water per day per person stored in your house. And you need, I would have at least a week's worth of water stored, because if it's an earthquake or something like that, you know, it's very possible you're not going to have gas, you're not going to have electricity, you may not have water. So you want to be able to survive a period of time until they get services back. And then food that can be prepared without cooking. So soup is really, a canned soup is really a good food for that kind of thing, but make sure you have a can opener. And then medications for at least 10 days. And you can, you know, people have asked me, well, how do you collect extra medications? Because, you know, I get mine every 30 days and they don't give me any extra. But normally with a 30-day prescription, I think you can refill somewhere around 21 days. And with a 90-day prescription, I think you can refill somewhere after 60 days. So if you pay real attention to that and refill it on the first day that you can collect some extra to put in your to-go box or to carry in your purse or whatever. So that's a really important thing. And then you need flashlights and battery operated lights for the house in case you have no electricity. You need battery or wind operated radio so you can get emergency information if all this other services are out. If you have an emergency generator, a portable generator, make sure it's placed away from your home and downwind, because you don't want to place it right next to your house and the wind is blowing the carbon monoxide into your house. So be very careful about using an emergency portable generator. And then a barbecue with an extra propane tank. And if it has a side burner, that's really nice. You could cook on that and warm things. And a checklist of items that you will have to take when you, if you're going to evacuate. And my husband and I have a list. We have a list for him and we have a list for me. And if one of us isn't home, then we have to take the whole list. So this just helps. So we have it posted on the cupboard door. So we know where it is, and that will help us actually think in an emergency. So those are some of the really important things that you need to think about. I think I've pretty well gone through my emergency box. I do have a list of things that you should take in a to-go box. I have it in the box just in case I need to go over something to think about it. But that's pretty much the important things that you need for your to-go box. So I know a lot of you said that you think you're prepared. A lot of times when I do these presentations, I ask people in the beginning, how many of you think you're prepared? And then I asked them at the end, how many of you think you're prepared now? And I get very few hands when I finish. So I hope you will really think about it and that you will really take action and prepare your to-go box, and that, you know, you can leave in 5 minutes if you have to, and that you will have enough with you to survive the time that until services are back on again, or until there's help. You know, I was on the board of the Tahoe Douglas Fire Protection District for 8 years up at Lake Tahoe. And when emergencies happen, it takes a while to get resources and whatever. So, and it's very chaotic at first. So you need to be able to survive on your own for the first 72 hours. So please, I hope you will all go and enhance your boxes if it needs enhancing, and develop a box or a suitcase or whatever if you don't have a box. So, but thank you so much. And, you know, I will be glad to answer any questions.
Thanks, Anne. You actually bring up a great point. I didn't think about having a comfort item for my preschoolers. So the other night, I actually just got a coloring book. She's really into coloring, and some extra markers, and I put that in my go bag. And then as you were talking, I was thinking my dog should probably have a comfort item. And he loves having a blanket. He will take it to bed with him and he'll take it out. And so that's a great idea. I should probably add a blanket, because he gets stressed out when he doesn't have a blanket. But we have 8 more minutes of this, and I am going to just share where you can find some of this information. I'm going to share my screen. And from current slide. And then there it is. Okay, so if you go to livingwithfire.com and then you click on this Get Prepared, it's going to take you to this screen right here. And here's different areas where you can find more about evacuation. This step right here, step 1, sign up for emergency notifications. We are a statewide program, and we actually have all of the links for every county to be able to sign up for that emergency notification system if your county does have that. I will go into that in depth here shortly, but let me explain the rest of these. This step 2, prepare my home and family for evacuation. There's just more information there. Here, there's an evacuation checklist graphic. I will be including this graphic in with the recorded video of this presentation, along with the other PowerPoints. So you will get a checklist, and you will get all the other attachments that we've talked about. Here's making a to-go bag disaster supply kit. That's just extra stuff, understanding needs of vulnerable populations, preparing for pets, and you can print this evacuation checklist. Again, I'm going to be sending this in an email in a few weeks. I'm going to stop sharing this presentation because I'm going to share my the website. So when you end up clicking on step 1, signing up for emergency notifications. Like I said, we have all of the counties in Nevada right here. There are some counties that don't have them. I believe Elko County doesn't have it. Esmeralda County doesn't have it, and Eureka County. But you would just click on one of these. I'm just going to click on the Carson City County emergency notification system. And they utilize Code Red, just as Jason was talking about, and it's really easy to sign up. You just click this sign up button, and then you go from there. If you have any questions, you can always email us, lwf@unr.edu. And again, to get to our website, it's livingwithfire.com. Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing that. And then Megan, would you mind sharing the post-evaluation polls?
Yep, I'll get that started.
Thank you. So we just have a couple more questions for these post-workshop polls, rather. If you could fill that out, we're also going to answer some questions. So somebody had asked me, Let's see, who can call us to show us how to, or sorry, who can we call to show us how to shut off the gas meter? Would it be the local fire department? Jason, do you know who could help residents show them how to shut off the gas meter at their house?
Yeah, if I wouldn't necessarily call the fire department to ask to show that. A lot of times we don't want you to shut it off until you need to, and the gas company doesn't, because that's going to turn it back on. They got to do a pressure test and stuff. But if you locate your meter, on the outside of your meter, you're going to see 2 holes and a tab, and you simply turn that tab 90 degrees. It's going to have 2 open holes that will line up together, and that's to lock it out, and that's in line to the main, into the main. But specifically who to call, I don't have a good answer for that. Sorry.
In one of our publications, it's the Fire Adapted Communities publication. It actually shows you pictures on like how to turn it off. And again, that is on our website, livingwithfire.com, and it's on the Fire Adapted Communities publication. I'm sure I could probably just include that as an attachment into the email for this after this presentation, which is going to get to you folks in maybe a couple of weeks.
I'll find that link right now and drop it in the chat too.
Sure. Thanks, Megan. I haven't had any other questions. Anne and Jason, do you guys have anything else to add?
Well, it's just so important that, you know, you really do pay attention. You know, when I've been doing this at events or whatever and trying to teach preparedness, you know, I've had people that have come up and said, oh, you know, I've thought about it, but I don't really think it's all that important. But once we start talking about it, they start thinking about all the medical problems that they have and what they would need to do to be able to take care of those medical problems for a time until resources are available. So it's really important that, you know, you prepare yourself, that you prepare your house. You know, like Jason was saying, if you shelter in place, you're going to need to have food and water and whatever there for as long as you're supposed to shelter in place. So it's really important to do that.
I agree. You know, I have a preschooler with pretty bad asthma, and she needs a daily inhaler treatment. And so I've bought an extra chamber for my evacuation-go bag. I've actually bought an additional nebulizer, which is just a machine that turns the medicine into a mist so that you can breathe it in. And I haven't decided if I'm going to keep that in my car or at work, because if that is really key to have for her and her medication.
Yeah. Well, the diabetics is just so important for diabetics to, you know, be prepared, because a lot of times they have to eat special diets. And I know our community center here in Douglas County, they have 1,000 meals frozen at all times for the shelter and for other things. But you know, I've been in there when there's nothing but, you know, crackers and cookies and, you know, things that probably diabetics shouldn't be eating. So, you know, they really need to keep a supply of food that is appropriate for their diet.
Good point. You know, we have a gluten-free diet in our household. So, I mean, sometimes you just got to have certain things that you're able to eat.
Yeah, and that's why I have some of these things. I have nut bars and whatever, because I have to eat gluten-free too, but the nut bars are gluten-free. So, and so are Cheerios. So that's one reason that I have those 2 things in here. So I have something to eat.
Well, Jason, do you have anything else to add?
No, just thank you very much for having us. I thought it was a great opportunity, and I think we had a great turnout. So thank you very much.
Great.
Yeah. Yeah, I really appreciate everybody listening and being concerned because it is so important. There's any number of emergencies that could happen. So thank you very much for listening.
Thanks for attending. So we, just as a closing, this is part of a series. We have a total of 9 other presentations. They range from information about smoke, wildfire smoke and health and how you can prepare for that. Fire behavior and weather. We talk about prescribed fire. So if you go to livingwithfire.com, there's going to be a button on the bottom right and you can register for those different workshop webinars. So thank you very much to Anne and to Jason for attending and for practicing and presenting to everybody.
Well, thank you for having us, Jamie, and thank you for hosting.
Of course. Take care. Thanks, everyone.